Hey fam, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be another Sunday meal prep video, okay? All the meals today are gonna be budget friendly, full of flavor, and high protein. If you're new here, my name is DeeDee. I've lost over 90 pounds following a low carb, then keto, and now carnivore way of eating. On my channel, I talk through my weight loss journey, any tips I have, and I'm showing you my full experience on my way of eating right now. So if that's something you're into, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and join the family. Now, before we jump in, I want to share a little update. Now, for the past 8 or so months, following a carnivore way of eating has been such a great reset for my body and my goals. I feel great eating this way. But I've been thinking about slowly transitioning back into keto or even more so of a Ketovore flexible way of eating, just to see how my body feels and how my body adapts to it and have a little bit more variety. Now, when I was doing keto before, I know I stalled, but I also know that I was doing a lot of keto snacks. Anything that said the word keto on it, keto bread, keto cookies, keto chocolate, whatever it was, I was eating a lot of that. So I know that I won't be going that route again, but I'm thinking, why not? I have reached my goal. My initial goal was 155. Right now, I'm teetering between 151, 150, 152, and just going a little bit back and forth whenever I jump on the scale. And right now, I'm focusing on body composition, building muscle, and losing fat. Now, I know a lot of you that follow me are on similar journeys, so I'll be sharing that process right here. Now, whether you're strictly carnivore, keto, or somewhere in between, my goal is still the same: simple, satisfying, and budget-friendly meals. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this week's meal prep. So we're starting off with these pork baby back ribs. Now, I actually scored this slab for just under $10. So super budget friendly. All right. So the first thing that I do is give them a quick rinse with some water and a splash of vinegar. And then I pat them completely dry on both sides. The next thing I do is I decide how big I want each piece, okay? I'm sitting here trying to figure out if I want little baby ribs or some big girl ribs. So what I do is I typically just feel between the ridges to see where to cut. And for me, 2 ribs per portion, sometimes 3, works best. So it's a nice serving size and I can eat 2 or 3 and feel satisfied. So after cutting up these ribs, I'm just adding them to a bowl because the next step is my favorite part. It's time for some seasoning. What I'm using here to season up these pork ribs is some hickory real salt, and I'm using about a teaspoon of this seasoning. I'm also using some Goya all-purpose seasoning, some ground white pepper, some garlic powder, and you knew I had to put some paprika on those ribs for some color. I just rubbed that dry mix right into the meat, and y'all know I love flavor. So I'm just making sure that every single rib is covered with that dry rub before we head over to the Instant Pot. All right, our Instant Pot is on saute mode with about a tablespoon of beef tallow heating up. This typically takes about maybe 5 minutes. And after it's hot, all I'm doing is laying the ribs in there. And my plan is to just sear them for about 3 minutes per side just to get some color. And I'm also doing this in batches because I don't want to crowd the pot with all of the ribs. I want to make sure they are getting all of the sear, all of the color. Now, another tip is if you want even more color after pressure cooking, you can easily pop them under the broiler in the oven for a couple of minutes. Now, after searing, that's what they look like. And my next step is to add about a cup of water to the pot, and we are deglazing, okay? We are scraping up all of those flavorful bits, and then the ribs go right back into that pot. After placing them in, I'm going to go ahead and put on the top, and we are going to switch to pressure cook mode. I plan to cook these for about 30 minutes pressure cooked, and we're going to allow them to also naturally release for about 10 minutes. Now, once that's done, you already know I'm gonna do my fork test just to make sure they're tender. And guess what? They are perfect. I'm gonna set these to the side and cool off, and we're gonna move on to prep our next meal. For this next meal, I am starting with just about 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Now in my pan over medium-high heat, I am cooking the beef while I'm adding my staple seasonings. Now what I added was some Goya all-purpose seasoning, some garlic powder, some onion powder, some ground white pepper, and about 1/2 teaspoon of Redmond real salt. I usually cook my ground beef for about 5 to 7 minutes. I stir it and I let it brown completely in that pan. Now, once it's fully cooked, all I do is just pull it off of that burner and I allow it to cool off to the side. Now, while that's cooling, I'm gonna make a quick creamy mix for our meal prep. I'm adding 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream, about 4 ounces of soft cream cheese. Now you can add more if you like it creamier, but that's all I'm adding here. I also added 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper and 1/2 teaspoon of Redmond real salt. And then I'm just mixing it up really well, and then we're gonna set it to the side. I grab my glass dish. I'm placing some butter to the bottom just to make sure that it doesn't stick to the dish. And then I'm adding in my cooled ground beef. The next step is to pour that creamy mixture over it. And then after that, you want to give it a really good mix. Now, while I was mixing it up, I took a look and I said, that corner needs a little bit more cream cheese. So I added maybe about 1/4 teaspoon of cream cheese into that ground beef. I'm now adding the cup of shredded cheese over and then into the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 12 to 15 minutes until this is bubbly and golden. Now look at this. A high-fat carnivore casserole that is perfect for meal prep. Now for our third meal, we are using a roll of ground pork sausage. Now, one tip for you, and one thing that I always do is before I even start prepping this sausage, I always pop it into the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes first. And what this does is it makes slicing it into little patties so much easier, okay? So trust me, take that step before you slice up your pork sausage. So now all I'm doing is I'm slicing them up and I'm flattening them up slightly, kind of like burger patties, okay? So that's all I'm doing right here for all of these patties. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and place them on that same pan that I use for the ground beef. Now just remember that these patties already have salt and seasoning already built in, so you don't need to add anything at all whatsoever. All you do is place them in, allow them to cook for about 5 minutes per side or until browned to your liking. The only thing I will say is you can check them with a thermometer just to make sure the internal temperature hits about 165 degrees because you just want to make sure that they are fully cooked. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm definitely working in batches. I didn't want to crowd the pan too much, so I had 2 more left that I'm adding over here. But after making sure that the other ones were cooked, I'm gonna go ahead and take them out of that hot skillet. I'm gonna allow the other 2 to cook. Once they're done, I'm gonna set them to the side and we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the next step of our meal prep. The last step of our meal prep is the eggs, okay? You know that I use my simple 3-3-3 method. What that is I just put 1 cup of water into that Instant Pot. I pressure cook for about 3 minutes. Then I allow a natural release for 3 minutes as well. After the natural release, I just go ahead and instant release the rest of that pressure. And then after that, I'm placing those boiled eggs into an ice bath for 3 minutes. They are perfect every time. Peel and just pack them up. And there you have it. We have our 4-day meal prep. We have some pork ribs, some creamy ground beef bake, some sausage patties, and some boiled eggs. All budget friendly, simple to make, and that's also enough carnivore meals to keep me full for the next 4 days. Now, as I start experimenting with variety, whether it's moving forward with keto or ketovore, I'm still going to keep things simple, affordable, and protein focused. My hope is that this channel will still be a place where you can find inspiration no matter where you are in your low carb journey. Thanks so much for spending this Sunday meal prep with me. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to follow me on this transition while I share recipes and also share with you what's working and what's not working. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.